Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
You're listening to Airey Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
You would walk in and it was a visceral reaction. I think I came out of the womb wanting to act. You know, it's my passion. I teach it as well. I've taught for 25 years. And, you know, between that, I had a very difficult relationship with my mother. So a lot of that shows up on the screen. Yeah, actor with mommy issues. Like my whole career had been leading to this moment of getting a script like this. Like the crew, the cast, everybody showed up and delivered the best possible work because they believed in the story, they believed in the project. And when everybody delivers their best work, it's hard to go wrong.
It's that 10,000 hours.
That's right, man. It's true. Meisner says it takes 20 years to make an actor, so we're right in there. After I read the script, like I knew that this was the project to go all in on. I live in an alternate reality where dreams come true because I have seen with my own eyes unidentified flying object that was undeniable in my mind that it could be nothing else. Hi, I'm Brian Landis Folkins, and you're listening to Airey Bros Radio.
What's up, y'all? This is Airey Bros Radio, and this is episode 77 with Brian Landis Folkins. You ready, Prince?
Stoked to hip the fans of Airey Bros Radio to Rent-A-Pal and the BLF. Let them know what's going down.
Yo, you guys remember we just recently interviewed Amy Rutledge from the new movie Rent-A-Pal? Well, we got Brian Landis Folkins, the BLF, coming on to talk with us some more about the movie Rent-A-Pal that you all need to go see. And yeah, it's just a great conversation. Again, just loving the connections we've been able to make through the podcast. And Brian is a Denver resident. This movie was made here in Denver, so it was just great to talk about the inner workings of what it's like to be an actor, what it's like to do production and be a producer on the back end, what it's like to be in theater, how we got into it. It's a great conversation, great dude, and I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did.
Yeah, Richie Rich, I double stamp everything you just said. Completely enjoyed this conversation, getting to dive in the inner workings of being an actor in front of the camera, on the stage, the ins and outs of getting ready for roles and what goes into the BLF, getting into those roles and what he does to have his best performance. So you guys are going to enjoy this one. As always, rate, review, subscribe, give us that 5-star on everything.
Yo, don't forget, give our sponsors some love. Give us some love. Much love. Namaste from the boys of 1512.
Yeah, so John Stevenson, who wrote the script and directed and edited, I had reached out to him. We had done a film a couple years before Rent-A-Pal called Hoax, and with a lot of the same crew. And so we got pretty close on that. It was like a 7-week shoot. And so I'd reached out to him because I was going through some personal things that he had just gone through and just wanted to connect with him. And he wrote me back and was like, funny that you sent me this email because I've got this script and I think you'd be great for it. So he sent me the script and I read it, and I was about, I don't know, like 8 or 9 pages in, and I was like, I have to do this movie. This is amazing. It was unlike anything that I've read before, super engaging, like page to page. I was just riveted with the story. And so we struck up a deal, and I suggested the lady who ended up playing my mom, Kathy Brady. I suggested her, and they contacted her, and she was game to do it. What's unique about this film is the director's house was right next to the location house. So it was a lady that had lived there that had passed away, and he was close to the family. And he asked if he could shoot a film in this house before they sell it. And so he ended up renting the house for a number of months, and we could go over there and sit in the house, and Kathy and I would just talk about the script. We talk about relationship. We got close really quickly. We did some rehearsals in that house, and everything that you see in the film that's in the house was in the house. So all that these 90s and before stuff was actually there, and art department just went in and dressed it with the actual items that was in the house. It had a smell to it. It was like my grandparents' house, you know, like you would walk in and it was a visceral reaction. So getting into character, after my work was done, after I had done all my prep stuff, I come from theater, so I do a lot of prep, and I rehearse very much like I was going to be on stage as far as the work that is entailed. So going into that space, I had already done the work. We had done some rehearsals. It felt really easy for me to drop in being in that space. And then the relationship between me and Kathy just, you know, it was instantaneous. And so what you see on screen is, you know, stuff that we connected with as individuals, like immediately. And I think that helped a lot to kind of bring this story to life.
How did you first get into acting? It's always interesting because as athletes, Jimmy and I were athletes. You know, the theater was something that I don't want to necessarily say was frowned upon, but it wasn't necessarily encouraged. So I'm always curious how people get into it and the support or not support that they had, you know, coming up.
Yeah, I think I came out of the womb wanting to act. It's never been a question for me, what do I want to be when I grow up? It was always a question of how do I do this thing that I love? So my first play was in kindergarten. It was an alphabet play. I was the letter F for fancy feet. I did a ridiculous little dance, and the crowd like cheered and clapped, and I was hooked. Like then on, hook, line, sinker. I did theater all through school. And, you know, I grew up in North Carolina, so there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity, but luckily at my high school, I had a really great drama teacher who kind of took me under her wing and really gave me some opportunities, even though I was a bit of a juvenile delinquent at the time. I worked my way through that juvie stage, and with much help from the theater. I moved to Denver my second junior year. I had 2 of them.
In high school?
Second junior year in high school. And I moved from North Carolina to Highlands Ranch, Colorado, which was very much a culture shock. Carpet in the schools. I'm like, where am I? But they had a great theater department and a fantastic theater. And again, a theater teacher there kind of took me under his wing and really gave me some opportunities. And I think that's really where it was a pivotal point. It was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I could see it in a more tangible way. And then I did college for about 2.5 years. I was pursuing acting at the same time. And at the time, the college didn't have a degree in theater. It was in speech and communications. So I bailed out of college and just started working professionally as an actor. And I have been working professionally ever since. It's my passion. I teach it as well. I've taught for 25 years. So acting is very much my life.
And you mentioned you prefer being on stage as opposed to being on screen.
No, I don't think there's like a preference.
Okay.
But I will say that I could never walk away from theater completely, because there's something that happens in that room, an exchange of energy between actor and audience that cannot be duplicated. It cannot be recreated on set. So there's a thing that I actually get from being on stage and it also keeps me very sharp. Rehearsals, doing live performance, it keeps you right there in the zone. And I really enjoy both mediums. So, but I'm enjoying doing film, man. I'm looking forward to when the world opens back up and we can jump back on set.
I think we all are.
Yeah, we're all kind of chomping at the bit.
For sure. So throughout, moving here to Colorado and then going into college and then realizing like they didn't really necessarily have your major, you take that plunge into full-time acting. Have you always been based here in Colorado or in Denver, or did you do like the LA or the New York route? Because I think a lot of people maybe have the assumption that it's like, oh, in order to make it in these certain professions, I either have to be New York or I have to be LA. And I think now we're even more so now in times of Corona, that we can make our livelihood and not necessarily have to be in a specific location as like a hotbed for that field.
Yeah. In the beginning, I just wanted to work. And Denver, I was getting work. And so I kind of just committed to doing whatever I could. And I never wanted to go west. LA is just not my style. And New York, I had visited a bunch of times, and I don't know, something about that hustle on a different level, that just kind of turned me off. So I just did work here. And what's great about, both being in a smaller market and working on stage is that you get opportunity to tell some really fantastic stories. And so that's really where my interest lied. It was like, I want to work. I don't want to do the day player, go on, say one line, and, you're done. Like, I wanted to explore character and I wanted to explore story. And Denver, turns out, is a great community, man. We've got great talent. We've got great crew. We've got just very dedicated artistic folk here that want to tell stories as well. And so, it became my community. And then, I had a personal life. And so it all kind of tied me right here to stay here and create work here. And so I, made a livelihood out of doing theater, doing film, teaching, photography, videography, whatever I could do artistically so that I could pay the bills and eat some decent food,
Yeah. Love the hustle.
Yeah. The hustle is real. And Denver people are great, man.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do hope that comes out of the success of Rent-A-Pal is that we can bring some projects here to Colorado in more of a grassroots kind of feel, but in a serious way. And I always believed if we could do a series in Colorado, that would change kind of our community as a whole. Like if we were working 9-10 months out of the year and it was a good series, like a Breaking Bad did for Albuquerque, I really believe that we could show the community at large, the kind of bigger community, that we can make quality stuff here in Colorado and in Denver.
Well, I got an idea for you for a series.
I love it.
So I've completed. I finished the Leadville 100 3 times, and we actually lived in Leadville full time for 1 year, and then I spent 4 summers there. And I thought it would be really cool to do almost like a Boom Days series, kind of like what the heck was that one Wild West series that was on like HBO? Deadwood. So something like Deadwood, but focusing around Leadville and the boom days of like the mid to late 1800s, when that was like, I mean, they wanted to make Leadville the capital of Denver at one point because it was one of the wealthiest cities in the world. And just, I've read some of the historical stories about, gunfights in the streets and the fact that there was like 150 saloons in Leadville.
That's fantastic. You write that, you send it my way, because I would be all about a story taking place in like the 1800s, man. Come on. That's just meat for the actor. You just get in there and you eat. Much like the actors on Deadwood.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great series.
So you were speaking about preparing for this role and coming from a theater background and how you like to prep. What does that look like? What is your prep for a role? What does that look like step by step for you?
Sure. So I write all my lines on note cards that are connected by rings, just a little book of note cards so that I can quickly flip through, and it's the entire story. So I have a whole system that I developed in college. It's all color coded. I've got my cues, which are just the last couple of lines or a couple of words that lead me into my line. And it's all pages. I got the pages on there, everything on these little 3x5 note cards. And while I'm doing that, I'll have research playing in the background. So for this story, excuse me, for Rent-A-Pal, there is actual source material called Rent-A-Friend, which was a videotape in the 80s of a guy in a turtleneck sitting in an armchair doing exactly what the Rent-A-Pal was doing. So he's talking straight into the lens and he's saying like, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. I just want to be your friend. And he asks your name and then he waits. And then he responds and he goes through a whole 42 minutes of Rent-A-Friend. And I found this John had sent it to me on YouTube, and it was all the source material that I needed. It was amazing. And I mean, A, I couldn't believe it existed. And then B, it was just incredible how this actor was just connecting with the lens in a really kind of authentic and casual way, and trying to be your friend and trying to bridge that gap between the two people through the screen. And I was fascinated, man. I'd watch it over and over, just to kind of like put myself in the shoes of David and be like, where would I have to be emotionally, mentally to connect with something like this to the point where I believed our relationship as a friendship. And, between that, I had a very difficult relationship with my mother. So a lot of that shows up on the screen. Yeah, actor with mommy issues. And then, everything else was like, I've been lonely. I've been in those places in my life where it seems just kind of desolate, And so real life experience helped me prepare for this role. I just come out of a divorce, and that really put me in the right place. And then, who'd have thought that we'd go into a pandemic and then a quarantine. And now, people are connecting with this film in a very unique way because of his loneliness, because of his isolation, because of his relationship with screens. It's just kind of fascinating. Timing is everything, man. I think this film got sold at the right moment during quarantine, and it got released at the right time. And people are really connecting with the story and the character. So, we're just kind of lucky.
Have you had a role like this before?
I've had roles like similar to this in the theater, but never on film. And this was my first lead in a feature, which was a game changer in itself. Not to mention, I didn't have to audition. It was gifted to me. It was like, oh, thank my lucky stars, I got this wonderful birthday cake. And David's arc is so wonderful. It was all on the page. Like the way it was written just had this delicious, you get to go to all the places. And so my whole career had been leading to this moment of getting a script like this, because, as an actor, there's only so much we can do. You show up, you do your good work, and then you release, because a project can fall apart in so many different places along the process. And chances that you actually get a finished product that is something that you're super proud of, that the work is good, that the story is good, is just rare. And then to get that finished project up on the screen is even rarer. So it was one of those beautiful things where things just lined up, like the universe kind of flowed with us to get us where we needed to be. And in that was such a beautiful opportunity for me as an artist to show my craft with this character that was complex and unique, and just had all the levels. It had all the levels right there on the page. So I kind of went all in.
And knowing that, all these different things can happen, and maybe the final product might be different than, what your original vision or the vision as you're going along. Is that like a thought that you have, or are you just trying to stay present in the moment and be in that flow? So you're putting your best forward and putting your best foot forward and putting the best product out there, and just kind of letting the cards fall where they may.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think we should, as actors, be committed to the character and the story. Our job is to tell the story through our characters. And so if we're in a bunch of different headspaces while we're doing the work, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing the story a disservice. I think you really have to let that shit go when you're filming. Like when the actual filming is happening. When it's not happening, yeah, you wonder, like, this is such a beautiful project. You just hope that it makes it through all the stages. And from pre-production to release, it did all the stages beautifully. Like the crew, the cast, everybody showed up and delivered the best possible work because they believed in the story, they believed in the project. And when everybody delivers their best work, it's hard to go wrong. And it was a family. These are people that I've worked with over the years in Colorado in different projects. And to have them all on this same project was kind of a dream for me, because I love these people desperately. And then realizing that it was such a unique opportunity that I really had to kind of give myself over to David, over to the story of Rent-A-Pal. I realized that after I read the script, I knew that this was the project to go all in on. I mean, you try to deliver your best work, but this was on a different level. This was okay, this is an opportunity for me to really be seen on a global scale. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. And I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that a film got made in Denver, Colorado that is getting, wide release and that people are really taking to.
Congratulations.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it, man. 26 years in the making,
That's awesome.
The overnight success.
It's at 10,000 hours.
That's right, man. It's true. Meisner says it takes 20 years to make an actor. So we're right in there. 5 or 6 years late, but pretty right on.
Like a wine.
Exactly. Cheers.
Cheers.
So speaking on wanting a role that you can really dig into and has a lot of meat on that bone, and taking real life experiences and using that towards your acting, using some of your troubles from real life in your acting to get the best character you want. Does that ever trigger you at times when you're going into those places on the daily and you kind of have to be able to, on a dime, have those emotions come up and then, cut and then go back to real life?
Yeah, you kind of learn eventually, hopefully, you learn that there is a separation. Because if you start taking characters home with you, they can really affect your personal life. So there is a delineation. Sometimes you go to those deep, dark places in a role, and on set, on stage too, it can trigger something. I remember shooting a rather difficult scene with Kathy Brady playing my mom, where we had to like really hash it out, and I had to like scream in her face terrible things. And then it switches on a dime. The scene goes from one thing to the next, like 4 or 5 emotions in a very short amount of time. And it was intentionally, I believe, her last day of shooting. And this was the last scene, and we kind of just like let it all go. And I remember after that scene, I went outside and was pretty emotional. Took me about 10 or 15 minutes to kind of like chill the fuck out. She was leaving. We didn't say anything to each other, but made eye contact. And in that moment, it was like, you good? I'm good. We're good? We're good. Like just in a moment, we shared that. And I think that's ideally what you want is if you have to go to those deep, dark places, you want someone on the other side that you can trust. And, I trusted her implicitly. And I'm grateful that she was my scene partner in that, because that's tough stuff, man. You got to deal with all your crap. It's both therapy and it's like, put your nose in it. Here's the shit you don't deal with. You know what I mean? Like you got to deal with it in that moment. And I think it's really, really good. And I also think that it could be very dangerous for an actor unless you have the right tools to kind of cope with that. And luckily, I believe that I've developed those tools over the years, and I'm able to go to those dark places. It's also a beautiful release to be able to play these characters, like people that you can't be in real life. I love villains. I love like dirty, nasty characters because I get to kind of experience what that is for however long and then just release it, because that's not me. Like David is not me. But it's nice to kind of explore David for a couple of months. Yeah.
Have you talked to her since you guys final? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. I take lunch over there and we just sit in the backyard, distanced, and shoot the shit. She's like a 40-year stage veteran. She's an incredible actress, has wonderful stories. She was a company member at the Denver Center for 25 years. And I grew up watching her work on stage and just being so, I was a fan before I ever became a colleague. So it was a thrill for me to be able to work with her in that way.
Have you talked about that scene since?
Yeah. We talked after that scene was over. I think after I wrapped, I reached out to her. We had a lovely conversation. Then I think we had lunch. Yeah, we had lunch before lockdown. And then I've had lunch with her a couple times since the world kind of opened back up a little bit. She's a delightful human being, and I just like being in her company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good people to have in your life.
I'm telling you, man, you want to surround yourself with those good people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
That's right, baby. I love that.
Speaking on the role, and you talked about being able to release that and have those emotional times, do you prefer roles like this, or do you prefer maybe comedies, or do you have a certain type of role that you maybe want to play, or no?
I mean, yeah, we have our bucket list shows from theater. We have stories that I think are important. So there are elements to story that I seek out. And then character, man, I'm always looking for something meaty. And I'm a character actor through and through. So whatever I just did, the next project has to be completely different character-wise. I want to be pushed. I want to be challenged. I never want to be pigeonholed. I don't want to be typecast. I want to choose what I do next that usually will be the opposite from what I did last. Because for a while there, I'm a juggler. I kind of learned juggling and clowning as a way to survive and busk, and I did a lot of children's theater. And so for a long time early in my career, I was kind of labeled as this clown or a children's theater actor and wasn't given a lot of opportunity on stage to kind of shake that up. And so I worked really hard to define myself as the actor that I knew I was rather than what people saw me as. And so I've already been through all of that on stage. Now having some success in film, I know who I am. I know what I want. So it's a really wonderful time to kind of get some success because I can say, this is what I want to do. I don't care about this. For me, it's about the work. It's about the stories. It's about the characters. That's what means the most to me. So that's what will dictate my decisions on what projects I do next. It'll all be about reading scripts and finding that story, finding that character that excites me, that challenges me, that fucking scares me, to be honest, because those are usually when you surprise yourself with the work that you do.
And you mentioned, you like the villain role because that gives you an opportunity to, tap into a different side of yourself and or tap into that kind of villain and see what that world is like for a minute. Do you ever see a role and get excited about a specific role because you feel you can like inflect some of your own individuality
Definitely.
into,
I mean,
into
usually
the
that's
character?
one of the factors that decides what I do next is, I see an opportunity in a script or in a character or in both, for me to like really challenge myself or really apply, with David, for example, in Rent-A-Pal, I saw it on the page and I was like, I can do this. I can play this character. I can bring a humanity to David that maybe you don't see right off the bat reading the script, so that the audience can connect with that character so they can go on the journey with him. It was really important for me that he was grounded in authentic, real emotion, that it wasn't some kind of caricature of what David could be, because we've seen those guys. We've seen the lonely guy that screws his life up time and time again. So it was important to me that the audience connect with David in a way that was authentic. And so I'm always looking for those opportunities as an actor to play a character where I can give a piece of myself to that character and explore all the things that aren't me.
Right.
I get into the research too. Like, one time I played a hustler of stamps. So he was after very expensive stamps. And so I got into the world of stamp collecting and I became dangerously close to a stamp collector. Just because you start to research these things that your character does or is, and they're fascinating, man. They're incredible. So I really enjoy that aspect of exploring a person that I'm not and learning all about that thing that they do, because it makes my life as a human richer. I get to explore things that I would never be. And I love that. I love that.
What do you learn about stamp collecting that we should know?
Oh my God. Like these little pieces of art, man.
Yeah.
They're beautiful and so intricate and so vast. There's so many stamps. You know what I mean? Dating all the way back, and the condition that they're in dictates the value. If they're misprints, that's usually why stamps are valuable.
Okay.
So like one of the stamps that was in the story that I did was the inverted Ginny, which is a plane that's upside down. And it was printed upside down by accident. So there's only a limited amount of these stamps. It's just fascinating, man. Like stamp collecting, coin collecting, collecting in general is just really interesting to me.
Yeah.
But I don't have the money to be a collector. Like, what am I thinking?
Well, I think we've all been in line too behind the nice little old lady at the post office, and she wants to know what different stamps are available, and you're like, it's just going on a letter. What does it matter if it's like, Snoopy or
Totally.
World War II battleships or whatever? But
there are so many varieties. Oh my God, it's crazy how many different stamps are out there.
Yeah, I've seen them. They pull like almost like a binder out.
Whole thing. Yeah.
They're going through looking at different stamps and stuff.
It's nuts, man.
Go down a rabbit hole real quick with that.
Real quick.
So talking about the state of the world and how everything kind of changed come March, and not knowing that this movie was going to go to IFC, what was that like for you, having the Rent-A-Pal debut on IFC, and what have you been hearing since it's debuted?
Bro, it was just one of those things where I live in an alternate reality where dreams come true. Okay, so like that's the shift for me. That's what's happening in my life right now. During a pandemic, like don't think that that's not lost on me because like it's surreal. So there we are in quarantine. I know this movie is done. I saw it throughout its stages. I was a producer on it as well because I realized the potential of this project. So I had seen the trailer in December, and I'm just like, please release the trailer. And they're like, we got to sell the movie first. We can't show people the trailer. I'm like, I know. So there we are in quarantine, been there for about, 4 to 6 weeks. And I get a text from the director saying, the movie is going on sale this week. We have it with our sales agent, fingers crossed. So yeah, like I'm not doing anything. I mean, quarantine, like all I can do is hope that this movie goes as far as it can go, right? Like, please, come on, you can do it. So by the end of the week, the movie was sold. So to put that in perspective, just doesn't happen. Okay. They waited the perfect amount of time where people needed content. Here we are in quarantine. People are devouring content and there's no shooting going on. So there was a point where everybody was like, we need content. Let's gobble up everything that is out there. And I think, in normal circumstances, I don't know if we would have gotten our film in front of IFC. So I'm grateful for the timing. Like I mentioned before, the timing was everything. And then I found out there was a little bit of a bidding war, which made me even happier. So there, like our film is with IFC. And that, for me, IFC was like the first, before A24. You know what I mean? Like IFC kind of led the charge in this independent film world. So I was thrilled that it landed with them. IFC Midnight, which is, IFC, which is also connected to AMC. And then I found out that Entertainment Weekly was releasing our poster and trailer. And like the, 12-year-old in me shat his pants. And I was like, yeah, because I used to have a subscription to Entertainment Weekly. I used to cut out people's faces and make collages of the actors that I loved and make vision boards and all that stuff. So that was pretty epic for me. And from that moment on, that was like July. From that moment on, everything was crazy. You know, things would come out. Then I found my name on a Oscar contender list for Best Actor. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Are you kidding me? Thank you. I appreciate it, but it's crazy. And the film itself is in contention for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor, Best Cinematography, and Best Actor, which is just amazing. Like, who knows what will happen, but just the fact that my name landed on a list right under Michael Fassbender blew my mind. Just blew my mind. But in that moment, you realize anything is possible. Like, why not me? Go get what's yours, right? So, like, ever since that release and since we've been with IFC, just the craziest stuff has happened, and I'm just sitting back and watching the ride, like, you know, you know, it's wild. It's a trip, and I'm loving it, and I'm really excited to see what comes of it. You know, what kind of work, what kind of stories I'm going to get to tell because of it.
And is that how it usually rolls with film, or is it like an independent film that they put it out for bid?
Man, I mean, the scenario that we're in, the landscape of the world right now, where people are watching a lot more content at home, put this film in a prime position. Also, the fact that theaters just opened up weeks before the release also put us back in movie theaters in over 60 theaters across the country. So, like, none of this is blueprint. This is all new territory for the whole industry. What was cool about IFC was they kind of doubled down on drive-in movie theaters. So over the summer, they had some pretty good success having their films in drive-ins. And this is a perfect drive-in theater movie, like a late night movie. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So, like, they're learning stuff. I'm learning everything because I didn't know any of this stuff. Kind of what happens after a movie is sold. It's been fascinating. I've had weekly calls with IFC, with their marketing and PR department. I've done press junkets where there's like 20, 25 different press outlets that are there to interview you. Like, stuff that I knew nothing about. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm having so much fun. And, you know, since we're not doing a lot of shooting right now anyway, yeah, I'm just enjoying the ride. Like, being here with you guys, it's just a great time, man. I'm just having a blast.
Yeah, we always try to focus on the positives with everything that's going on now. And
definitely.
I joke with Jimmy, you know, one of the good things is that maybe we might see a resurgence of drive-in movie theaters. You know, because
that's already happening.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I one of my earliest childhood memories is that I saw the original Star Wars in a drive-in movie theater.
Yes.
So I'm a
epic.
I'm a 70s baby, and so I grew up in the drive-in movie theater. So to see,
yeah, me too.
You know, whether it's movies coming back, there's also like comedians that are doing shows at drive-in theaters, and I've even seen some concerts, you know, with musicians or DJs that are doing some makeshift kind of
brilliant
performances too. It's just, let's do it. Let's
do it all.
Drive-ins.
Let's drive in everywhere. There's been some drive-in theater as well locally.
Is there?
Yeah, everybody's kind of like, you know, what can we do in this time? Well, here, drive-in is definitely something that we can do. Yeah. So I've enjoyed seeing all the different kind of ways that people are using the drive-in. It's awesome. Yeah. More power to them, right? Like, absolutely. Let's get creative in this time.
They have to be. You know,
yeah, everything can't be Zoomed. You know what I mean? Like, eventually, that Zoom fatigue is real. I know you guys know.
Yeah, between
classes. You know, and that's another good thing too, is that I was just going to say, Jim, real quick, you know, Brian, one of the other good things that's come of it is when we had the actual recording studio.
Yeah.
If we didn't have people come in studio here in Denver, we had to do call-ins.
Right.
And so now having the ability to do Zoom, it gives us that face-to-face interaction. So the conversation actually flows a lot better when you can kind of see each other, and then, you know, they could take the breaks where we've had a couple just on the phone where, you know, we ask a question and then 45 minutes later, we're kind of sitting there like waiting to ask another question.
Right.
So
I mean, and, you know, for the actor, another wonderful thing about Zoom is that a lot of casting has become virtual, and not only the initial audition, but callbacks as well. So for the actor, it's opened things up in a way that's never been open. An actor from any part of the country, any part of the world, really, can audition for a project from where they are. And I think casting is going to stick with this kind of model for a little while, even after the world opens up. I think that's a game changer for the regional actor.
Yeah.
That you don't have to be in LA, you don't have to be in New York, Chicago to book like a really good gig.
I don't think
there has been bonuses, pluses from this whole Zoom experience.
For sure. We just try to remind each other to focus on those things when we're getting a little grumpy.
Yeah, totally, man. Let's always focus on the positive. Definitely.
Totally, yeah.
Have you had an audition on Zoom?
I have.
Yeah.
And you know, right when lockdown happened, a bunch of my friends, we decided to do Zoom plays. And I mean, we were busier during quarantine than we were before quarantine in some instances. Just because we had to work, man. We had to do something with our time other than, you know, playing Red Dead 2. You know, like you can only play so much video games and watch content before you start freaking out, because what really drives me is the work, is the art. So definitely the Zoom auditions are happening in full swing.
Cool. You mentioned you were did some production on this film.
Producer on it, yeah.
Is that something also you dabble in and split your time with? You do stuff on the other side of the camera too?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not interested so much in directing, and I'm not a writer. I'm an idea guy, but I'm not a writer. So I need help in all of those realms. But I'm a people person, so I can definitely connect people with people or pull resources in order to make stuff happen. And that's something that I really am interested in moving forward, is producing my own work, being kind of like a Duplass Brothers situation where they have a house and various projects are happening at different stages of development at the same time. So, you know, you got your pre-production and their ideas are spinning, and you got productions and they're out shooting, and in the basement they're got the editing suites and they're all editing, and like that's kind of a dream for me, is just to make my own work, tell my own stories under my own umbrella. It's important to me. And I think on some level, being in Rent-A-Pal was the beginning of that kind of substantial shift into focusing on my own stuff and making my own stories.
Do you have a name for your production company yet?
Not yet, but my nickname is BLF. People call me the BLF. I imagine that'll be in there somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where did that come from, the BLF? It's just, you like the full name?
Came from my buddy Dame, and I went to high school with. It's my initials, Brian Landis Folkins. And so a buddy of mine that I went to high school with, that I've been friends with this whole time, also an actor, nicknamed me that, and just put the D on the front. And it just stuck. And as you can see.
Oh, nice.
Custom made, baby.
Branding is important, y'all. Because then people remember. If someone says Brian on set, 50 people turn around. You know what I mean? Like everyone's like, what? If someone says BLF, that's me. And so it was important to me to kind of like, as part of persona, of like set yourself apart from everybody else. And that was part of what set me apart.
Where'd you get those glasses at?
Online.
Those are sweet.
Yeah, you just send them the prescription and you can do anything you want. Make them sunglasses. And it's a good time, man. My
Nice.
sunglasses have them too. They're pretty hot.
Yeah. Build your brand.
Yeah, build your brand. Exactly.
Yeah, we had a stand-up comedian on Monday, and he always talks about always betting on himself.
Heck yeah.
You know,
I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to go all in on yourself. You know what I mean? Like, in order to get anywhere, I think with some success, you got to believe. So that means you have to be the hardest working guy in the room, and you have to deliver. Because if you're gonna bet on yourself, you better not be making an empty bet. You know what I mean? I'm also a poker player, so I understand the action of betting.
I am a pro wrestling fan, so I appreciate the custom-made glasses.
Nice, man. I watched WWF growing up, so I'm right there with you.
Hell yeah. So as a theater man, what plays do you recommend? What's your go-to, I want to sit back and watch a play, or this is my favorite play?
Like, for me, it's about new work. I want to see new work. There's obviously some shows that I love. There's some shows that I had to do. I had the great pleasure of doing A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams in Mississippi, in Columbus, for the Tennessee Williams Festival. And I got to play Stanley, the role that was made famous by Brando. And bucket list show for sure, man. Like, being in Mississippi in August is a special experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, the humidity is real. You step outside and immediately you're soaked. So it gives you that feel of, New Orleans, but he wrote it there in Mississippi, and it was a unique experience. So, but as far as like viewing theater, I go support my friends. I like to know what is hot in the American theater right now, what's current, like modern. I'm a company member at Curious Theater, that is kind of the Steppenwolf of the West. Steppenwolf's a famous theater in Chicago that was started by Gary Sinise and John Malkovich. And the kind of work that Curious does is cutting edge. It's important work. It's stories with a voice. I believe in doing theater that changes lives, that affects people here and here. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy doing the fluff every once in a while, just that's the escape story, but I really enjoy theater that's hard to watch because it says something, because you see yourself. It's like it holds up the dirty mirror, and we're forced to see things that we don't like about ourselves or our society. For me, that's the theater that kind of lights my fire.
Is that Curious based here in Denver?
Yeah. 1080 Acoma Street. Not that you can go right now. Like, all theater is in hibernation right now. Pretty much all theater. There's some that are trying to open up a distance, but most theater, I've got tons of friends all over the country that are just, the struggle is real, man.
Yeah.
The artists of this country took a hard hit. And not just the artists, but the crew that supports them. Live music, there's so many areas of the arts that just stopped. Like, we stopped working in March and really haven't worked that much since. Some people are out there getting creative, but for the most part, man, like, we're all struggling pretty hard. And my heart just goes out to all my fellow artists that are out there just trying to get by. Just on unemployment, just trying to get by so we can get to the other side of this.
Starving artist is a real thing, huh?
Especially now, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a real thing before, but now it's like,
real.
Now we have this big excuse. Before it was like, get off your ass, put the bong down, go make some art. But now it's like you can't, or it's very hard to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone, especially with the summer, had anyone tried to do like outdoor theater? Was that something that
Yeah. So there's a number. The buddy that gave me the nickname, I went and saw him do a backyard play up in Boulder, two-hander. Everyone was distanced. A low amount of people entered into the space, and that was really nice. Actually, the place that I live, my not landlord, it's my buddy who gives me a room. He's doing a piece of theater in his backyard. That's wonderful. There's a Buntport is a troupe locally, and they did it in their, people will drive into their parking lot, stay in their car, and they did the theater out in front, which was pretty great. And then in Boulder as well, they did like golf carts. So they did on a golf course, and you drive the golf cart and you go from scene to scene to scene, which was pretty
cool.
clever. Yeah,
that's cool.
So people are out there getting creative as best they can, man.
Right on.
Yeah.
Have you, knowing that you like to do theater, have you ever done any improv stuff?
Yeah, a little bit of improv. I mean, I haven't been in like an improv troupe, or have I done like improv specific shows, but you'd be surprised how many times in commercial auditions specifically, that improv is a skill that you want.
Yeah.
And I have, incredible improvers in my life. Just artists that are so good, that I pull from.
Right on.
Yeah.
Excellent. You
Improv's
got one? You got one, Jim?
Yeah. Before we get into
doing great, Jim.
Thank you. Try my best. Before we get into rapid fire,
You're doing great, buddy.
Do you have anything about Rent-A-Pal you'd like to say to our audience that we might have not talked about?
That hasn't already been said. I'll reiterate the fact that it is a very dark film, and it is a film I think people will connect with, given the isolation, given the loneliness, given caretaker elements to it, and given the relationship to screens. It's been very well received overall, and people like it a lot. And it's a fun kind of late night movie. It'd be the perfect midnight movie if the Esquire was open. You know what I mean? It's different. I will say that it is more of a psychological thriller, kind of a character study in a psychological thriller than it is a horror film. So if you go in thinking that it's a straight up horror, you may be a little bit disappointed. But if you go in knowing that it's more of a character study and that psychological thriller, I think you'll enjoy the ride, and hopefully you'll go along the journey. And go see it, please. Or you VOD from home, because it's on all the major platforms.
And if you're maybe not necessarily into horror or thrillers, is it going to give me nightmares?
I don't think it'll give you nightmares.
Okay.
I think, what's great about it, it's very grounded in reality, in that sense where you feel for the character. Even when it's hard to feel for him, you feel for it. Have you guys seen it yet?
Not yet.
Oh my God. I hope I haven't said too much.
No.
I don't think I've spoiled anything.
We had, no, not at all. We had Amy on last week.
Wonderful.
And we were actually we have another podcast where we do,
we had John.
We review like documentaries and different things. So that was going to be we're going to suggest that for our watch list, so that the other two co-hosts, we can all watch it and then kind of do a podcast to review it. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you guys think. That's your homework. Hopefully you'll see it this weekend. Yeah.
I get scared easily. So
both of us get scared easily.
I'm not into scary movies. I'm really not. So know that it's not like a jump scare. Not even close.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was, I don't want to use the word forced, but I was I watched The Birds at a very early age.
Oh God,
and then
you're
followed,
scarred for life.
and then shortly thereafter followed it up with The Exorcist. So I've been kind of,
Yeah,
I like to watch movies with the lights on and stuff like
no, I feel you.
that.
You probably went down the same Poltergeist during that same time. Yeah,
Yep.
we grew up around the same time. We dealt with that. I feel you, buddy.
Yeah. Like friends were going to see like Halloween or, Nightmare on Elm Street. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to go see that.
Not my genre. Not
No.
my genre.
I'd rather laugh than piss my pants.
Totally. Or piss my pants because of laughing.
Exactly. Rapid fire.
Let's do it.
Rapid
dog.
fire. What does that mean?
So we have just a couple of stock questions that we ask all of our guests. And so I guess I'll start off with the first one. I think you got some mala beads.
Yeah, man.
Do you have any sort of daily practices or rituals that you do to either set your day up for success or just kind of continue to try to keep leveling up to be the strongest version of the BLM or BLF? I'm
That's
sorry.
an easy slip. That's
That
an
was a
easy
slip.
slip.
I apologize.
No reason to, because if I could be attached to BLM, I'm all about it. I support it 100%. So, yeah, man. Like, I think most of it is just gratitude. Like, I'm grateful to wake up in the morning. I'm grateful to take in a breath. You know what I mean? Like, I'm grateful that I have full use of my facility. I'm thankful for whatever work comes my way. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. So it's based in gratitude. I think when I'm most productive, I work off of kind of a block schedule where I kind of say, you're going to do this for a half an hour, then you're going to do this for a half an hour. And you have to shift your tasks and your focus. I'm not completely successful with that, especially in these quarantine times, but I try to put that in practice as much as I can.
And with the gratitude, is that just something that you're kind of acknowledging, or do you write it down, or do you say it out loud?
I say it out loud. I speak it in the morning. I speak it at night. I remind myself of what the best part of my day was and what I'm grateful for. I wish upon stars. Like, magic is very real for me. And I think the more you embrace it, much like you were saying in that positive, I think the more the universe kind of circles back onto you.
Excellent.
Yeah, man.
Are you a coffee
That was,
drinker?
what are the
No,
Rich? No.
I don't
go ahead.
drink anything that's brewed. So I don't drink coffee, tea, or beer. I'm definitely in the minority. And I'm okay with that.
Do you have do you avoid caffeine, or is it just you just
No,
don't
man.
smoke
I
the
like the
stuff?
Mountain Dew, which
All
is sad but true. Yeah, the caffeine is not what bothers me. It's something about the brewing process that I just don't like the taste.
That Mountain Dew, that's the North Carolina coming out, isn't
It
it?
sure is, man. It sure is. And it's stuck. Ain't that the truth?
Have you ever had the they did it a while back, but they brew the Mountain Dew with real sugar, with cane sugar. Have you ever
Oh,
had
yeah,
that?
yeah. I did not
With
like
like
it.
an old school label.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you didn't like it, huh?
Throwback, yeah. For some reason, the taste was strange to me.
All
But
right.
too sweet, which
Okay.
is weird because Mountain Dew is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it though. I
Did you?
yeah, I mean, when you run ultra marathons and stuff, you have the aid station, so they typically will always have either Coca-Cola or ginger ale, and then every once in a while, sometimes they'll have Mountain Dew. So if they have the Mountain Dew, I'll opt for that
You'll
because
pound
it's just a nice little, it's a good
Yeah,
little
you'll
kick in the
pound
pants.
That's right. Keeps me going.
Yeah.
What are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks, all the above, whatever.
Yeah, man. Nerd wise, I always listen to Inside Acting. It's good to connect with those kind of things. Music wise, my music taste is all over the place, man. I'm really into Dermot Kennedy, Glass Animals. Um, my music taste is wide, so it depends on the day. When I wake up, sometimes I'll play Etta James first thing in the morning. You know what I mean? Or sometimes I'll play G Love. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows what I'm gonna play? But I do like to kind of keep my finger on what's popular or what's new. And I love discovering new music. Yeah. But I'm a singer-songwriter kind of vibe.
Is there anything that you don't mess with, like country, or you take it all on?
Not a huge fan of country. Not a huge fan of opera. I've tried so hard, but it's just not there. I do like classical. There's nothing like going to the orchestra and letting that music kind of wash over you. But yeah, not a big fan of country.
Understood. I didn't get into it until I was over 30. So, and then it was all the old guys like Merle and Hank One and all those guys. But
I'm telling you, I mean, there's some great country tunes. Don't get me wrong, man. Like, those guys can write lyrics like nobody else. But yeah, it's not my go-to.
Cool.
Movies. What movies do you like? What's your favorite movies? What should we go watch? What are you watching?
Man, like, I could never narrow it down to one favorite movie. That for me is impossible. But that top 10 list shifts week to week, right? One week it'll have Pulp Fiction on it. Next week, I mean, usually the Goonies are on there no matter what. You know, usually Breakfast Club is on there. Like, these movies that defined my generation. I could go, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. You list. I used to tape on VHS. I would tape off of HBO and do the super slow speed to get as many movies on that tape as I can, and buy the extra long tapes. And then I would watch those tapes like over and over and over. Robin Williams was like my hero. So anything with him, Dead Poets Society, Mrs. Doubtfire, Good Morning Vietnam, Fisher King, Good Will Hunting, like his whole career for me was like, I also kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio was like the path when I was younger that I wanted to go on. So his whole trajectory and the movies that he's kind of chose, I was fascinated with, like What's Eating Gilbert Grape. It's classic. If you haven't seen it, you must watch it. Johnny Depp and Leo killing it. And as far as new movies, I Uncut Gems. That shit was dope. It was like tense. And then I went back and watched Good Time. I think was with Robert Pattinson, same director. They've got stuff moving for them, man. Like, both of those movies were really, really well done. I'm trying to think of, like, what did I watch most recently? Oh, Peanut Butter Falcon. I really enjoyed that.
Is that Shia LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf. Yeah. Which also leads me to Honey Boy, which I saw last year at the film festival, which is now on Amazon. And he plays his father as he was growing up. That were like, yes, he's had his moments of like tough time and being an idiot. He's also come back and kind of, he's a strange cat, much like Joaquin Phoenix, Joker. But like his work, both of those movies, Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey Boy, the work is just undeniable. I mean, it's so good.
Like, did he direct that too, or was he?
No.
No.
That would have been the mistake.
Okay.
He got a director, he got a collaborator, and she directed it, and it's a wonderful movie. It really is a good film.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Leonardo. That was Romeo and Juliet. Was watching that actually made made it make sense to me, like after having read it multiple times
Oh,
in
the
high school.
Shakespeare.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, the Shakespeare. Yeah.
Yeah,
It kind of,
that's good.
connected all the dots and kind of made it all make sense. And then having read it multiple times, but then having them act it out in that language, it
Yeah,
all kind of was just like,
it
oh,
clicked.
I get it all now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that
Yeah.
power too, to be
Yeah.
able to take the story which you don't quite understand, put it in the right hands, and then it's like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Boz is great too, like Moulin Rouge. Come on, man. Moulin Rouge is a classic.
That's a good one.
You know,
What I saw you don't do beer, you don't do coffee, you don't do tea, but you were drinking some vino.
wine.
Would
I'm
you
a
have
red wino. I'm a red wino. No, I'm a big fan of red wine, Malbec, Syrah, Pinot Noir, stuff like that.
Okay. Jim, do you remember what that one that Ricky mentioned?
It was like 14%, wasn't it? Wasn't it a red Zinfandel?
Yeah,
Oh, red
something,
Zin. Okay,
something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I'd be down with the red Zin.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that style. He's originally from Portugal.
Oh, nice.
So we were talking about
That's funny. My mom was born in Brazil,
Okay.
and Portuguese was spoken in the house growing up. And I always kicked myself that I never learned. Had the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
As a kid, you're stupid, but like it would have been nice to learn that language.
Yeah. Having a second language comes in handy.
Big time. Big time.
Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, that was the one.
Ooh, shit. Wow, that's a great question. I would go with the whole Area 51 UFO thing, because I have seen with my own eyes
Yes.
unidentified flying object that was undeniable in my mind that it could be nothing else. It could be nothing from this world, nothing from this planet. And I had my best bud from North Carolina, me and him saw it together. And it was like a big boom. It looked like a bicycle helmet made out of lights. It entered the atmosphere. It traveled across the sky for about 5 to 7 seconds, and then boom, and it was gone. And like, I saw it with my own eyes, man. Like, I can't. So I'm a firm believer of life outside of our planet. And with the stuff that they're releasing like this year, it's even more so. And that, it just fascinates me, man. I want to know everything. I would love to make one of those movies, like Arrival or Signs or, something like that. It'd be a lot of fun.
Did you see that in North Carolina?
Yep.
Yeah.
Coast of North Carolina.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to ask you, the follow up to that was, what's your take on all the stuff that we're now seeing in the last 6 months, that the disclosure of all of these things. I don't know if you saw last week, there was, was it a blimp? What was it in New Jersey?
Oh yeah, but that's already been debunked. It was
Yeah.
just a Goodyear blimp shooting the football. Shooting the football, which is funny though, because like they show the blurry image because it's never clear, right?
Right.
Like it's always like it's like Blair Witch. You're trying to get the shot, and it's like I see just half of it. You just want to see, like, for one. I mean, there are some footage that you find out there that isn't tampered with. The stuff that the was it the Air Force released?
Yeah.
That's just fascinating, man. I will be up at I'm a late night owl as it is, so I'm up pretty late. I will be up at like 1 a.m. down a YouTube rabbit hole of like UFO footage. Like I'm just like trying to see. Ooh, pause it right there. Oh, that looks good. Like that's dope. I get into that stuff for sure. So that would probably be my favorite
Nice.
conspiracy theory.
Have you ever been to Crestone?
Crestone.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It's in the San Luis Valley, so it's
Oh shit.
it's
Yeah.
south of Salida, northeast of
Kinda near Westcliff.
Alamosa. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of near Westcliff. but that, that San Luis Valley apparently has like the highest concentration of reported UFO sightings
In the country?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that. I will be taking a trip.
Yeah, it's
I have a buddy that lives in Westcliff.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I've only been there once, but it was the most spectacular view of the Milky Way that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes.
Like clear as day. You like distinctly you could see it and be like,
you can't beat that. Like you can't beat that, man. Like the things that lay outside of our world fascinate me to no end. I mean, I can't wait to learn more about the great unknown. So you're a believer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have a tinfoil hat in my room. I just
Jimmy, you too, right?
Yeah,
he's come over to the dark side.
Yeah, together we are strong.
He was definitely pre-quarantine. He definitely thought I was a little crazy, and then has now started to. But now we have a rule that for every 3 conspiracy podcasts that I listen to, I have to listen to 1 Ram Dass podcast.
That's a great rule. Did you come up with that, Jimmy?
I did, yeah. I got to keep them level.
Yeah.
You got to keep them balanced. Otherwise, he could just drift off.
I've gone off the deep end once or twice the last 6 months.
I love that, guys. That's awesome.
BLF, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate having you on today. Just share with everyone your socials, where we can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Facebook, Brian Landis Folkins, at Brian Landis Folkins. You can find me at Twitter. I believe it's at the BLF. You can find me on Instagram at Brian Landis Folkins, and BrianLandisFolkins.com. We'll have all the loving that you need for the BLF. And we're working on that branding. Still working on, what does the BLF look like? Got a trademark, copyright, do all the things. Eventually, hopefully, I'll have the shirts and all the gear. We'll see what happens. But the stories are most important. Absolutely.
Yeah. And is there one particular place to direct people that's going to benefit you guys for the movie?
For Rent-A-Pal, you can go to Rent-A-Pal, all one word, .movie. And that will take you to where the screenings are still in the theaters. And it will also take you to a link where you can have the options of viewing at home. And we're on all the VOD platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, and the cable networks. So you can definitely find us somewhere where you watch TV.
Cool. And are there any viewings still available here in Colorado? Any theaters?
There was a screening today at the Alamo Draft House on the Sloan's Lake one on Colfax. And there had been screenings for the last couple of weekends. I'm not sure how much more they'll extend it. The only screening that I saw that was still there was today at 4 something. So we'll see. It's a gamble because just because the theaters are open doesn't mean people are going to the theaters.
Right. For sure.
The struggle has been real to get people back into the theaters, which I get. I don't know if I hadn't had a movie in the theater, I don't know if I would have ventured, even for Tenet. I don't know if I would have ventured back into the movie theater, but I've seen some great people come to the theater. And Alamo specifically has handled it really well, and the distancing has been great. I've always felt very safe. They take your temperature. They ask the questions at the door. Everybody, has been really masked and really safe. So I appreciate what they're doing over there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot over there. I've seen a couple things over there, and there's the Psychedelic Club here in Denver periodically has meetings when they show different movies and stuff over there. So I've been over there a few times. It's really nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, Brian, we really appreciate your time. It was a pleasure and honor meeting and chatting with you. It was a great conversation. Yeah. And we're looking forward to we'll send you that link to our podcast when we review the movie.
I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it, man.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, and we'll get our popcorn and let you know. But again, thanks for joining us, and have a great evening.
Yeah, you too, guys. It was lovely hanging out with you. Thank you for the invitation, and I've really enjoyed my time here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great to meet you.
Cheers.
Be well.